there's something very humbling and yet something really, really exciting about being in this room and watching this room transform into a place where worship's going to be held the next day. And every now and then I'm in this room by myself and I kind of just look around and sit in these chairs and think about the people that are going to be here. I also think about how exciting it is to be a part of something that's much bigger than myself, something that will outlive me.
You know, Miles Bennett and Matt Brennan were, and I don't remember which one called. I think it was Matt called and said that, hey, you know, let's start a new work. Let's do something.
Miles and I became very close before we started Northeast. We worshiped together for a lot of years, and we were not close. But in the end, we developed quite a friendship, and so it was real easy for me to constantly reach out to him. And it was just, you'd have to understand my relationship with him. I always say nobody makes me laugh like Miles, but he's just a great guy, constantly reaching out. So I could sit there and I could say those things to him, like, you know, hey, what do you think about us starting this church? And of course, the coaxing was coming from elsewhere. You know, this guy Todd, it was basically saying, you know, you should do this. And in turn, I would try to bend Miles here. And so I guess what Miles was doing then in turn was going to Danny and Jimmy and Scott.
It was actually a pretty powerful moment. We were around speaking about our ideas or our hopes for the Middletown area for a future church, and we just couldn't find that area that we felt comfortable or felt was the right fit for us or the Middletown area. And we were excited about it, but also very intimidated. But I know when we left her that day, we all felt that this is something that we needed to do. Thinking that we knew how much work was going to be involved, but not really realizing what it was going to evolve into.
We sat here and we talked and we prayed. We actually also had called and sought out some wise counsel from Miles. I think it's Miles' cousin. We had sought wise counsel from him. He's a minister down south. A friend of ours out in Ohio, Jeff Metzger, who has been involved in church planning and was involved in church planning at the time. So getting some guidance from him. And then after we met here and we prayed, we literally on our knees and shared some ideas and thoughts and concepts. And then we all met at Matt and Cheryl's house on New Year's Eve of, what was it, 2004, I guess.
Lots of food.
Lots of food, yeah. Put all the kids downstairs and all the husbands and wives came together and said, you know, this is what we want to do. We want to move forward with this.
Yeah. I just remember being really excited, and I felt empowered, like maybe that's what God wanted us to do, but it was scary too.
Gary right off the get-go, because we didn't know what we were doing. For the most part, I think that we were ready to go. We knew it was going to be a lot. We never dreamt the in-depth of it, you know, when you get right on down to it.
Well, when he came home that night, he was just so excited, and it was contagious. I mean, I have to admit, like at first I was a little nervous because I sometimes do look at the big picture and think of all the work involved instead of really just trusting and stepping forward and knowing that, you know, God could do anything with what we were, you know, going to try and do. And like just to see all the guys and how excited everyone was that first Sunday was just great for the whole family. You know, I remember the kids being excited, and even though we were in little rooms and didn't really have many supplies or anything, it didn't really matter. It was just that we were all there worshiping together, and that we had a place to go, and then that we had a goal in mind to really, you know, invite other people to come and know the Lord.
It was a great experience. Like she said, it was just sort of a makeshift. Just sort of grab a keyboard. We had some microphones, people singing, some instruments. I can't remember who preached that first Sunday, but it was a great experience.
Transporting the drum set. Once I thought I had it secure enough in the back of the pickup truck, and just about to go up Summit Bridge, found out that it wasn't secure enough as the wind airlifted it out and it landed in the middle of a major highway.
And we were heading over the Summit Bridge and we nosed up a distance ways that there was a guy running around on the road picking stuff up, and the closer we got, it was Jimmy. He's the brand new drum set that we had just purchased. He had it in his truck, and he didn't strap it down. And when he was getting ready to cross the bridge, I guess the wind caught or whatever, but that thing came out and went all over the road. Cars were going everywhere. And there's Jimmy running around picking up his drum.
So I'm glad I knew how to direct traffic. So I stopped traffic, picked up the pieces and went on. And a couple times I had the trailer I thought hooked up and actually wasn't hooked up until it came unhooked and crashed in the back of my truck a couple different times. And learning process.
Yeah, I said we had some talents. Not all talents.
The very first day as a worship leader, when we got done singing the songs, he very politely told everybody, sit! I mean, it wasn't, please sit down or anything, please have a seat, it was sit!
But what they failed to hear was I did have please before I said sit. But everybody only heard sit.
And we followed orders.
Yeah, that's right. Everybody sat very quickly.
You know, when we started the church, one of the things that I said in that room with the 6 men, and they were all looking at me because I was currently doing some studies at a Bible college. And I know everyone, at least I thought everyone in there was thinking, well, Jimmy, you know, he's going to preach. And I thought I could stump him up a little bit. And so I said, you know, I'm not preaching, guys. I hope you're not thinking that I'm going to preach. If we do this thing, you know, I want you, Danny Miller, and I want you, Matt, to jump in and help with the preaching responsibilities. Knowing that Matt, although he does a great job, doesn't really like to public speak. It makes him very nervous, and I knew that.
I wanted to throw up. Actually, before I even got up there, that's one of the things, if you hear Jimmy talk and tell his story, he'll tell you that was a turning point for him because he thought that when we got together that he would be the responsible person to take care of all the preaching, which, you know, that would have been okay with me.
And it was that night that and actually his decision, because I remember he filled up pretty good, and he said if that's what it takes to make this thing happen, then I'll do it.
Yeah, it used to really stress me out because I certainly came away with an appreciation for what you guys do in the ministry trying to put together these sermons. It's extremely hard work. Ask Matt Bennett about which one he remembers and he'll tell you. I had a piece of paper in my Bible that I was to rip, and the point was, I can't remember now, but it was something like you wouldn't rip a page out of your Bible. And what I did was when I grabbed the paper, I grabbed the sheets behind it, and I ripped them completely out of the Bible. And I'm looking at the reaction, thinking, well, they think I just ripped my Bible up, and I really did rip my Bible.
Going, you know, preaching God's word and never doing that before. It was in a way intimidating, but yet in a way it wasn't. I felt it to be a privilege to do that. To be able to speak from the heart, you know, and knowing where God was going to take us, and what I believe He had intended us for us to do. He put all of us together at the right moment, in the right time, to do some good things.
I really didn't know much about Rick. I didn't know who he was. I didn't know what he did for a living. I just know and speak with him. He seemed to be very humble, a very genuine and authentic type of person. He tells it like it is. He tells you what he's thinking. But I didn't realize he was such a big thinker.
Well, when we started going to the Northeast, of course we're meeting where we're meeting at now in a gymnasium. And Betsy and I talked about that, and since my background is in developing property, I was curious as to what the plans were for building a church, if there were any, and if any property was either purchased or being taken under consideration. So when I inquired about it, I came to find out that everyone was thinking that we should be looking for a piece of property, so I asked if I could be part of that. So we undertook a study of where we should be, and where ground is, but because of my knowledge of the area, I kind of did a little study on my own and found out that I thought the best property to build a church was one of the properties that we were going to develop for a housing community. So I thought the message was clear. It should be a church. So we put the housing community on the shelf, and then we started talking about how we could make available some of this farm. So
you knew that God was at work. You looked around and you saw the growth in the church, and you just knew God had his hand on that church and that we're going to continue. We're going to get bigger and bigger, and everybody is going to know about Northeast Christian Church.
I think that with our past experiences, this church has almost been refreshing. And, you know, especially just with how our, you know, our boys have been so settled getting into the youth group, and we had connections with, you know, several people before, you know, from, you know, some of the founders of the actual church, and I think it's been neat to be in a church that's part of our community that we actually live in and that we can feel connected with.
So I feel grateful for one that, like, God sees that he can work through us, and then I feel very unequipped to do that, because, you know, I look at these teens and I see them on the stage and it's just a little intimidating to think, oh man, like, we're helping out with this ministry. I feel so unworthy and so unequipped to do this, but, and I think about, I don't know the reference, I should know the reference, but the verse that says his power is made perfect in weakness, and I'm like, I think that's all we got going right now, is our weaknesses.
You know, it's scary, I have to say. Some days I'm just overwhelmed to the point where I go, what can I do? I'm me. And then God says, you know, here, let me show you.
For me, my passion my whole life has been teens and youth ministry. And so, and really for Laura too. I mean, that's something that she's very passionate about. And so, when we get here and we kind of see that there is a little bit of a need for this this type of position and for this ministry to get going, and we kind of see a little bit of an opportunity, and then that opportunity turned into something that we're just extremely passionate about.
The message can't change, but the method must change. So whatever that means for the future, I think it's important to keep the main thing, and keep focused on the cross and the sacrifice that Jesus Christ made for us.
Be brave. Be forward-thinking. You know, don't ever be intimidated by, you know, I think we let our own fears and insecurities intimidate us from what the Lord wants to do in our lives. And you know, he can do things with or without us, but a lot of times he chooses to use us. And I think that a lot of times things don't move in the direction that he wants them to go because of our inability to follow his calling.
Well, it's clear to me that God has had his hands in everything that we have accomplished so far, and as long as we continue to follow him in obedience and reach out to the lost, the poor, so forth, we're going to continue to grow. We're going to continue to fulfill our vision. And for the young people, in my opinion, at this point, we have a tremendous group of young people that are very sensitive to what they're doing. They're very generous with their time and very active. And it's just great to see young people growing up in Christ, and they've had their feet on the property. They've had the feeling the rest of us have had, and I think as a group, as a body, we can feel, we can sense that something's great's going to occur on that land, and what a blessing to be involved in it.